Do you ever feel like there's something missing despite your success? You've hit your goals, you built the life you thought you wanted, you've done all the things, and yet something still feels off. Well, I have got something for you. Welcome to the Full Way to Joy podcast. My name is Tami, and before we get into the episode today, I wanted to share something I've created with you in mind. A free masterclass. This is one of the biggest questions that I get, and I decided why not go all out and share some of my secrets. In this masterclass, you're going to discover why achievement alone is not fulfilling you, and more importantly, what to do about it. You'll learn the hidden patterns in your success that reveal your true purpose and how to finally create the meaningful impact you know you're meant for. So join the free masterclass, Success to Significance, and discover why success feels empty, how to break the glass ceiling, and the secret to finding your true purpose. I can't wait to see you there. The last step is just sign up. TamiMarieCoaching.com/masterclass 2025. Can't wait to see you. Now, let's get into the show. Do you ever feel like your life is in a maze? Like you're like stuck in the maze. There's so many paths, so many ways forward, but no clear way forward. You keep hitting dead ends, and every time you turn and you think you're like, this must be the way, there's another obstacle or there's another dead end. And so the frustration grows. What if instead of running around like a maze, what if we could step back and see the bigger picture? What if we had a lighthouse that was like guiding our path instead of just leaning on just what our next step is? We actually could see a direction we want to go. Well, that's what I want to talk about today, because so many times I talk to people, they're like, I just feel so stuck. And what's interesting to me is when high achievers and us crazy moms are stuck, it doesn't mean that we're frozen. It doesn't mean that we're not doing all the things. The people who I know, and myself included, who consider myself when I'm feeling stuck, it's typically I'm doing so many things that I can't see the way through. It's like the maze where I'm just trying to let's try this way and let's try this way and let's try this way. Nope, that didn't work. Let's go back to the start. Oh, I've been that way already. And I realized that's a dead end. And so even it's funny when you hear the word, the phrase I'm stuck, you think that you're like frozen, paralyzed, that you're not in action or not in motion. And so many times we are. And so many times that we are just trying everything and yet it's not working. And so even some of the things that you may be trying, you may be trying, well, we wait for absolute clarity before taking any action, any different action. We just do the same thing we're always doing. And so that's getting the same results, right? We overthink instead of trusting our intuition. A lot of times we set our intuition aside because we just it goes against what everyone says or what you know to be true. We allow others' opinions dictate our choices, or we believe that we have to earn the clarity rather than allowing it to emerge. Does that sound like you at all? I know that each one of these, as I was coming up with what are some common mistakes? These are things that I have done. These are some of my MO. This is some of the things that I have to look out for and are actually on my roadblock list of when I start overthinking versus trusting my intuition. I know I'm in a stuck mode. And so I wanted to talk about that today because this stuck mode is not where we want to be. Otherwise, we wouldn't try to solve it, right? We wouldn't try to get out of it. It wouldn't feel so hard and it wouldn't be overwhelming, and it wouldn't bring this anxiety in us that we don't want. And so what can we do? How can we get unstuck? And this is not a new concept, but I want to bring it in and give you some clarity, give you some, what are some next steps? What are some of the things that you can do if you are feeling stuck, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you are trying to figure out what my next step is, or you're going along and you have this urge, you have this feeling that there's something different waiting for me. There's something more, and I'm trying to figure out what this more is. Well, as we go, we get to look and we get to decide, do we want the maze life or do we want the lighthouse life? Do we want, instead of running around through the maze blindly, do we want to step back and see the bigger picture? Just like the lighthouse guides the ship safely to shore, clarity comes when we rise above the noise and get the perspective, when we can see the forest through the trees. So stick with me here, because I have a way to do that. I have a way that we can look through and see, how do we gain clarity? How do we get unstuck in any situation? And I already alluded to it a little bit. I already alluded to this, like we don't trust our intuition. We have been taught. It's been deep ingrained inside of us to trust authority, to trust someone else, to not lean on our own understanding, which, hey, it's even in the Bible, right? We're not supposed to lean on our understanding. However, God has given us the gift of wisdom. He has given us the gift of direction. He has given us the gift of His word. He has given us the gift of these unique gifts inside of us. And so a lot of times, like, that's not what He's saying. Yeah, our own understanding may be, okay, well, I know that this worked for someone else, and so I'm going to try it, and then it doesn't work for you. That's what our own understanding. Our ways are not His ways. And so a lot of times we have to step back. We have to rise above the noise and get a new perspective. And so that's what I wanted to share with you today, because I was with my mastermind group yesterday, and one of the coaches, one of my good friends, his name is Tim. He made a statement that was like, this is what I'm going to share with my ladies. And it says, if you see your own value, you don't have to play by everyone else's game, or you don't have to play everyone else's game. I was going to say you don't have to play by everyone else's rules, which is true, but that's not his quote. His quote was, if you see your own value, you don't have to play everyone else's game. Are you tired of playing everyone else's game? Are you tired of playing by the rules, whether they're spoken or unspoken, and you know deep down there's something that needs to change? Let me help you change them. Let me help you step back and rise above the noise and gain this perspective, because I know for a fact that this works. I know that God has given you such unique gifts that when you see your own value, when you see the gifts He's given you, you can trust your intuition more. And so through all of this, I have some questions that you can ask yourself, but I wanted to talk about just this 3 C's of clarity. And the first C is curiosity. Get curious about where you are and why you feel stuck. And again, when we're stuck, it's usually as we're spinning our wheels, or we're doing all the things, or we're so inundated with ideas and possibilities that we become paralyzed in our thoughts, not actually in our actions. The next C is courage. Acknowledge what you truly want, even if it scares you. And I'll talk about that in a moment. And then the third one is commitment. Take one small step toward clarity, even before you feel ready. Okay, so now I've given you the model, the 3 C's of clarity. Now let's talk about them. And let me give you some specific questions that you can ask, because I'm telling you, when you're feeling stuck, it's because there's some incongruency within you. There's something pulling you to a different direction. It's that we want something different. And a lot of times when we realize that it's something different that we want, we start to get into safety mode. We start to look at, then we start to lean on, okay, this is what we know to be true, instead of really stepping back and saying, well, I want something different, which means I need to do something different. We start going into the mode of, what do other people think? What do other people say? What are other people doing? And it's not bad. Like, it's good to look at options and see what's possible, because man, I look at the things that I knew like even 10 years ago, and I look now at, I would have made different choices if I knew the different options, but then I wouldn't have been where I am now if I didn't make the choices that I did. And so we can look back, we can look at what choices we have and what other people are doing, but we need to use this as an invitation to see ourselves more clearly. And when we start to step into who we are really called to be, when we step in to our gifts and our talents and who God wired us to be, that's when amazing things happen. That's when we stop playing but everyone else's game and we play our own game. And that's when we know and we see and we live our true value. God didn't give us all these strengths and gifts simply for us to put on a shelf and say, well, like I'll use them when it comes time. He's given us these gifts, these talents, this calling, this purpose in order for us to cultivate it and for us to partner with him to see how it can be used in such an amazing way. He's given us these gifts so we can shine, so we can be that lamp on the hill, and we can let others see what he's doing in our life, because then it invites them to see what God can do in their life. And so these are some questions that I just want you to take a moment. I want you to just consider, and I invite you, even right now, as I ask the question, if you have the space, if you're able to, put it on pause and just ask yourself for a moment these questions. If not, come back to them. But don't do it in a way that's like, okay, let me just speed through this. This is not just another thing on our to-do list. I know for myself that when I started getting clear on who God wired me to be, who God called me to be, and who he made me to be, when I looked at what I've been through, when I looked at the decisions that I've made, when I looked at the decisions and the things that I've learned that didn't make sense at the time, I now can see this, it's like a friendship bracelet where it all comes and it may look all jumbled, but when it comes together, you start to see the picture that's on it. You start to see the words that are engraved in it. It's like a quilt where on the outside of it, like when you are making it, and I've watched quilt creators don a quilt, and I see it doesn't look very pretty when they first start. And I don't see the vision of what it is going to look like at the end. So it just looks like a bunch of different colors and patterns all thrown together. But the artist sees the end. The artist who created us happens to be God. So it happens that he sees how all of these unseemingly connected pieces fit together. And what he asks us to do is to get quiet, to create the margin, to find the rest and the peace and the space, to get clear with what does he want for us? What is he telling us? What is our heart longing for? And so these are some questions, and they go along with the curiosity, courage, and commitment. This goes along with the framework that if you want to step into your purpose and you really want to live it, it's that shine framework. And we're talking really about the S right now. And we've been talking about, I've been hitting this one hard about the see yourself clearly, because it's such a vital step. People want to jump to discovering their purpose. They want to jump to embodying what the next step is. But the problem is that gets you right where you are now. It gets you playing someone else's game. It gets you feeling stuck and overwhelmed, and it gets you doing more things than being who you're called to be. And so when we step back and we see ourselves clearly, and we start to put the pieces together, lay them out, and start to put them in a way that we can see them, light bulbs go off. Do we see why we do what we do? And so here's some questions. The first question is part of this curiosity, and is, what are you being told that you should do? This question, what are you being told you should do by yourself? What are you saying to yourself that you should do? Or by other people when they're like, oh, you should just, well, every time you hear should just, or should, any version of that, get that, let that be a permission for you to pause and say, why should I? And just what? There's nothing we do that's just. I mean, I'm just a mom. No, I am a mom. I am momming hard. I'm just a coach. No, I spend time honing my craft and learning and growing. And so I'm not just a coach. I'm not just a partner. I'm not just a friend, because I want to go the extra. I'm removing just anything. Just is not a qualifier, and that we need in our vocabulary. So, but it is an indicator, because typically when that word just is used as a descriptive word, then there's something that we are downplaying right after. I'm just exhausted. Well, I am exhausted, but I'm not exhausted to the point that I can't do something else. It's I need to stop something to do the right things. The next question is, what are you afraid to do, to admit? What is on your heart that you're afraid to say? Like, are you, and even when I say, what are you afraid to do? Is like, are you afraid that if you were to do this, you would offend someone, or that you would feel like an imposter, or that you would be uncomfortable, or that the people pleaser in you knows that if you were to take a step into this direction, there would be pushback. I had a conversation today, a networking call with another amazing, she's a branding specialist and she has a heart for Jesus. And we were talking and we were talking about the fact that, I lost my train of thought there for a moment. We were talking about the fact that we have to see things beyond what others see. We have to see things. And she talked about Proverbs 31:16, I think, about how a woman buys the field and sees the vineyard. We don't always see eye to eye with the people around us. The people around me, I love them dearly. I have some of my best friends who I don't talk about business with because they want to keep me safe. They want to they don't see the vineyard that God is planting. They don't see the dream that God's put on my heart. And truthfully, I don't see it completely either, but I feel it. I feel it. And so what are you feeling? Because if you're afraid to buy the vineyard, if you're afraid to step out and into this unknown, why? And so this question is so important because this is typically what stops us before we even get started. And is it because you're going to feel like you're an imposter? Is it because you feel ill-equipped? Is it because you don't have clarity? What is stopping you? And the crazy part is when you start to acknowledge it and you start to bring it to light, you start to write it down, you start to admit it, it loses its power over you. When things are brought to light, they lose their power. But when they're kept in our hearts and kept in darkness, then that's when that stronghold and the fear can take root and it goes deep. So the next question is we're going to switch here a little bit to courage. And it's like, what is your heart saying? Now I'm going to use the word heart here, but I also want to know that if you're in the gut triad, if you have your center of intelligence is your gut, what is your intuition telling you? What is your knower saying? And if you are in the head version, if you're in the thinking, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts that are truly, what do you want? What do you want to do here? And a lot of times there's like, well, if in a perfect world, I would XYZ. Go with that. Give yourself permission to remove all the blocks and just say, if I had a magic wand and just wove it over you, what would happen? What would it look like? What decision would you choose? If you knew how it would work out and it would work out perfectly in your favor, what would you do? Because this question, when we answer it honestly, it also gives us freedom. Because then it's like, I'm not stuck at all. I've just been afraid. I've just been allowing what I know to be true to stop me from what God is calling me to. The next question is, it's what do you want to do? So after what is your heart telling you? What is your intuition, your gut? What is deep in your knower, whatever center of intelligence your knower is in? What is that saying? And it's like, what do you want to do? When I started asking myself this question, a lot of things changed because then I didn't have to ask what I thought I should do or what my friends would do or what my kids want me to do. It's like, what do you want to do? And I was like, this is one of the questions that when I was moving out of therapy and into coaching, it was really weighed on my heart because I felt God called me to therapy. And then it was clear that, he did call me to that so I can learn those skills, I can learn those tools, and I had those frameworks and I can really start getting the experience because what he had for me was better and more aligned and in a lot of ways, a lot harder than therapy. And so it's, what do you want to do? It's like, I want to be a coach. I want to start my own business, which freaked me out. And it took me a long time to admit that I wanted to start my own business. I was just doing quote unquote, I was doing a thing. I was just trying something. I was doing an experiment and God's like, okay, that's cute, but you're going to do it anyway. So what do you want to do? Do you want to start something? Do you want a promotion? Do you want to switch jobs? Do you want to, do you want to lean into more responsibility? Do you want to take leadership to another level? Do you want to grow? Do you want to try something that's in your heart? What is God telling you? And what do you want to do? And now we're going to get to this commitment side of why aren't you doing it? And this does take courage and commitment. Like we're bridging that and a little curiosity as well. This brings in all three of the C's because we have to get clear. We have to see ourselves clearly. We have to kind of humble ourselves to ourselves, and we have to give ourselves permission to answer the questions above and then ask ourselves, like, well, why aren't we doing it? And a lot of times it has to do with what we're afraid will happen if we do it wrong, or what we're afraid others will say. There's a fear there that if we don't get past that, and this is different than what are you afraid to do. This is really like we've gone deeper than just the surface at this point. It's why aren't we doing it? Well, because I didn't have the clarity. We're waiting for absolute clarity, or we're overthinking it. I'm just going to think about it for a little while longer, or we're letting others' opinions stop us from doing what we know to do. And then the last one is, what will you do right now? So this is the full-on commitment. It's when you understand, like, what are you being told you should do? What are you afraid to do? What is your heart saying? What do you want? Why aren't you? And then what are you willing to do right now? When you ask yourself these questions and you take action, you take that last step, you are unstoppable. You are unstoppable. And it doesn't matter if we get it wrong. We're going to get things wrong. But the thing is, we can lose the battle and still win the war. We can misstep and still dive in and live this dream that God wants us to live. Friend, you're not called to play by someone else's game. You're not on their game board. And it's not even fair to them or to you to even try. You don't know what shape their game board is, let alone what the rules are or what the outcome is. You have your own job. You have your own calling. You have your own assignment. And it is crucial. It is so crucial that we take action and we discover what it is, that we see ourselves clearly. And it's one of the least selfish things we can do, because when we hear what God wants us to do, it is not for a selfish reason. It is typically because we want to shine this light and show others what God is capable of. We want to partner with Him, and He wants to partner with us to do these amazing things. And if we don't get out of our own way, if we don't see how He's created us, how He's wired us, and we are still trying to figure out from other people who are not the artist who created us, if we're playing by their rules and trying to fit into what they want for us, we're actually saying to God that no, this is better. And it's not. It is not. So what can you do? If you want to figure out what your next step is, if you want to discover what is holding you back, I have a quiz for you. It's 7 questions. It'll take 2 or 3 minutes. Really, it's not. But what it does is it's going to start a new journey for you. It's going to start looking at how you can work smarter, not harder. It's going to help you start to see what game you are playing and the game that you're about to start with God, instead of trying everything else but what He's called you to. And it's really going to transform the way you see yourself. And so TamiMarieCoaching.com/quiz. It's go and take that first step. Say yes to yourself, and then find out, ask yourself these questions. These will help you get clarity, and it will help you see yourself clearer. All right, friends. If you, I am so grateful that you were here. I'm so thankful. And if you're still listening to the end, which means that hopefully you're getting something out of this, I would love it if you could share this with a friend. If you have a friend who is freaking amazing, and you know that she is a light to be on a hill, and she is not stepping into who God's called her to be, or she's working on it, but not fully allowing herself to jump in, send her this podcast. Send her this and let her know that she is amazing and that she is capable. God is equipping her right now. And if you have not left me a rate and review for this podcast, I would really appreciate if you would take 30 seconds and do that. These rating and reviews are like important for multiple reasons. One is it helps me see what resonates with you. And it's just what you can do to say, hey, I'm listening, Tami. And I appreciate that so much. And then the other side of it is it lets the algorithm, it lets the like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, all the people, all the bots know that this is important to you and that you, and it will, who knows what it does. It just makes it so that other people can discover it as well. And just to tell you how grateful I am for you, this podcast is ranked in the top 1.5% globally. And it's because of your loyalty and because of your commitment to listening and to reading it and everything. And I just want to say thank you for helping me reach this milestone. I have a goal to have it at 1% by June, and I have no idea how it all works, but clearly it's working. So I just want to say thank you, and I'll continue to show up here, and I'm so grateful that you continue to listen. So friend, choose joy until joy chooses you, and I will talk to you soon. Bye for now.